quick rundown of the cards that I think that will be making a little bit of a splash on the Hardened Scales deck. I know there's a lot of... This deck basically was being a little bit of a disappointment for everyone. I think it's because we were all expecting, to get some sort of like new Phyrexia kind of style, Ravagers, kind of platings. Instead we got some very big dudes which do very little for at least us or Hardened Scales players or Artifact players or even modern players in general. So I'll run quickly through the spoiler and tell you what the cards I think that are good will be, and yeah, we're just gonna discuss that a little bit. So I think Jix Yakmos Predator is a card I really like. I don't know if it will see play, but I think this kind of effect is very strong. Both the passive ability allowing you to draw some cards and allowing you to draw cards, and then the ultimate to just kind of end the game. It looks pretty cool. I think this is a card I'm kind of excited to build around, or maybe just try one off as a Yakmos target. That would be something I'd like to try. I think Titania is kind of all the Mel cards, is the only one that will actually see play or that could see play. It's relatively easy to assemble, and it's very strong if it happens. But, you still need to untap with a 3-4. It's still, 3-4 reach for 3 mana that has a little bit of an upside, right? So it gives you, like, life every time you fetch, for example. So it's not the worst. But obviously, trying to melt it can be a bit difficult. But it's easier to melt a creature and a land like this than a creature and a creature like all the other ones. I'm just gonna go quickly through this. I'm not gonna spend too much time on things like there's obviously extra artifact, but you know that this happens in every single set. I wouldn't be worried too much. I think this card, the thing Wormlet, is completely unplayable because it's not an artifact. It only gets 1 counter per turn, so it's not like Patchwork, and it only gets Death Touch if you have Metalcraft, and it also gains you alive. I mean, this card is just really not playable, guys. I'm sorry. I wish it was playable myself, but it isn't. So other cards, I mean, a lot of people are like, tutoring or trying to use Doubling Intent. I think this card is very bad. It will not see a lot of play, maybe some kind of combo deck, but other than that, I think this card will not see a lot of play. One card I really like is Horkil's Master Recall. Which basically can draw you 2-3 cards per turn if you build your deck around it, and it looks relatively easy to slot in, like for example the Breach deck. And I think that deck really wants to have more legends, and something I've been trying to play. I play a couple of leagues with the deck, trying to upvote some leagues, and honestly I did super badly. And the thing is that the deck, it feels a bit disconnected. Then you have the combo play, which is cool, but your threads are so easy to kill. Both Embry and Ragavan are just super easy to kill. And I guess if you play round 6, it's less easy to kill it. But also round 6 doesn't really go with the plan, I would say, so much. So it gets you to a situation where you have a lot of cards that don't do anything unless you have a legend, or unless you have another Wall Breach. And it just gets a bit like, I think there could be better ways to build that deck. And maybe this can be part of that, to be kind of this engine that you need to answer. And well, if you answer it, well, that's bad. But if you don't answer it, then it kind of takes over the game, which is kind of cool. I'm just gonna go fast. Not really anything too exciting here. I'd say in general, like we were all kind of expecting a lot, and we got very little, to be honest, out of this set. Sorry, I mean maybe I should just skip basically all the colored spells, but yeah, a lot of common, blah blah blah. The multicolored spells, obviously these cards are super cool, right? I mean, like Urza, Melting. But this is so difficult to make, you need 7 mana, you need a Mightstone, and you need an Urza. Bro, looks very difficult to make. And like the same with Mishra. Mishra lost a Phyrexia, kind of wins the game. It's a 9/9, yeah, crazy card, but really, really difficult to make work. So I think that's one of my takeaways with this deck, is that there's like very powerful stuff, but really difficult to make work. Maybe there is a way to make it work better. But for example, I was really excited with this card, Mishra's Tamer of Motherfucker. And it says permanents you control have ward, sacrifice a permanent. Very strong. And then all your artifacts get an earth for 3 mana, for 1 red and a black mana. So that looks really, really strong, but it's a 5 mana spell, Like, if this was 4 mana, you could build your deck around it somehow. Have this crazy engine that protects itself, and, like you could bring back all sorts of artifacts with it. It could be cool. But with 5 mana, I think like at that point you're getting 5 mana, you could also creativity for X equals 2 and just win the game on the spot, right? And that's kind of the tall bar that all these cards kind of need to go over. This card, some people get excited about Yorian Dissidents. Basically, puts a counter on an artifact you control, on a target creature you control, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control. This works really well, obviously, with Hangover Walker and Narvan Ravager, but, you know, once you have Hangover Walker, Narvan Ravager, you have lots of counters, so you really need something to win the game at that point. Like, do you really need something that will put even more counters? I don't think so. I think it's an ultimate win more card. This card is cool. Third path, Iconoclast. I think this card will see some play. It looks kind of exciting. And with Mishra's Bubble, it makes artifacts. So, you know, I think this is some sort of Urza Spellslinger deck, kind of blue-red something. Urza with, you know, lots of artifacts, Mishra's Bubbles, and a lot of random artifacts. I think that could be cool because it could just trigger this guy. And, you know, you can use the non-creature, so like you can choose the Soldier artifact creature tokens to tap them for mana to Urza to make more spells. You know, it looks kind of cool. Honestly, it looks kind of cool. I'm sure somebody will try them. I'm sure there will be maybe a shelf for it. The problem is it's a 2/1, you know, and the 2/1 in a world of Furies and running 6s. And even Lava Dart sometimes, and Lightning Balls, and Holy Heat, so it dies to absolutely everything, but at least you can get a relatively quick value if you play this on turn 2, and you cast a Mishra's Bubble, you get a Servo, or a Soldier, which is okay. Then here, you know, we were like all super excited, oh my god, the Myth is what they're gonna be like, and they're just big dumb dudes, like, they're just not even worth reading, like it just, you know, it's so much work, all of them, even the green one. It's just so much work. It's like 5. You need to pay 2 mana to get a 2/3 do nothing. Then you pay 5 mana to get a token that's 3 times the power. It's like, what? 7 mana for a 6/6? I mean, in modern, like, not gonna happen. So some people are excited about this card, but it's a trap. It's a 3 mana 1/2, even though it has flash. You know, flash is cool when you can do something else than cast the creatures. Like, if you have counter spells, and I know some blue gamers are gonna go like, oh yeah, I have counter spells in my Hardened Scales deck. But if you have counter spells or an interaction and you have this thing, then you could like, oh, you're not gonna cast anything, I'm just gonna cast my Armor Ravager instant speed. But it doesn't matter to cast it in instant speed if that's the only thing you're going to be doing anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really going to make that much of a difference, and you're working very hard for it. And it gets a little bit bigger, but not really that big. It flies, which is kind of cool, but in general, I think this card is a trap. It's just bad. It's also extremely ugly. I mean, not biting it. Same with all of these. It's just way too expensive. The only playable artifact of all of these, as we will see, will be some kind of treasure decks that will put Portal to Phyrex into play, gonna win the game on the spot. Was this card needed? I don't know, but you know, it's the only one that will see any play. I think all of these are completely useless. And then we got our guy. I'm sure they were thinking about skills when they made this card, and it's kind of medium. It's a 3 mana Simian. It's called Simian Simulacrum. It really is a simulacrum because it doesn't look like at all like a Simian. And basically, when it enters the battlefield, you put 2/1/1 counters on a target creature you control. And you can unearth it for 2 and double green. And unearth means that you bring it back from your graveyard. You do not cast it, so but you still get the counters, and then you get haste, and it gets exiled at the end of turn. So you cannot just do it there infinity. So it's kind of cool. It gives us an angle of attack we used to not have, which is the ability to use a graveyard. We never use our graveyard as Hardened Scales, so maybe, you know, in the off chance that this is strong, and people start bringing like, you know, Soga Lanterns against you or Relics against you, that's a big win already. Because honestly, you know, that's a really bad deal for your opponent if it's bringing like a graveyard hit against you. So it would be kind of cool to see if it works. I'm not too sold. If this was 2 mana, I would be 100% on it. I think this card would be amazing. With 3 mana, it makes it so it makes it clunky, right? And you know, casting a 3 mana 2/1 on turn 3 is sometimes not good enough. But if you have scales and you have Ballista, for example, let's say you go turn 1 Scale Stone to Ballista, there's a 2/2, you put this and you put the counters on the Ballista, you now have a 5/5 Ballista, which is kind of hot, and you still have a 2/1 that when it dies, you can unearth. Seems decent, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably not going to be good enough. It looks like it's not going to be good enough, but it could be decent. A lot of nonsense. The Stone Brain. This card is actually going to see a lot of play in Wish Words, but I also think a lot of people are not evaluating this card correctly because you know, one of the things that Scales is not good against is combo, especially non-creature combos. But combos in general, they're not the easiest thing to beat for us. So having the option, even though it's not the fastest, you need to spend 2 mana to cast it and 2 mana to sacrifice it to get rid of 4 of your opponent's cards. You know, you can name a card and you decide it. It has to be, it can be any actually card. It can even be a basic line if you want to go that route. But you can basically use this, exile whatever your opponent has in the deck, right? So you could do things like exile Archon of Cruelty. You can do things like exile, what's that one? That was Yagmoth's Transposition. You can exile Primeval Titan. You can exile Otis Power Plant or Tower or whatever. You can exile, I don't know, Counter the Great Creator if that's your, you know, you're really against it. You can exile Wobbling Childbelcher. You can exile, you know, if people are playing the Tassa's Oracle deck, you can exile the Underworld Breach. You can play, you can do, you know, basically you can, so many decks in Modern that rely on this one card, like this one extremely powerful card, you know, and I mean, we can even have a quick look and see what decks and cards I'm talking about. But, you know, Hammer Time, you could exile the Hammer. I mean, I don't know, that's probably not worth it, but you can exile the Rhinos here for Crushing Footholds. You can exile Living End versus Living End. You see where I'm going, right? There's a lot of these decks that are really built around one card. The Metallic Creativity is built around Creativity and Archon of Cruelty. Crushing Footholds is built around Rhinos, obviously. Amulet Titan is built obviously around Titan. Yagmoth around Yagmoth. Grinding Station Islands on the Wall Bridge. Living End around Living End. So all of these decks, and Mono Green Tron obviously against Sean Lane. So just activating one of these decks just wins the game on the spot. Almost always wins the game. Of course, you know, you can always lose to like beatdowns and stuff, but if you get to exile your opponent's Yagmoth from the game, and you have like anything else going on, you probably win the game. But so it's kind of cool. The only thing is kind of slow, right? We're not going to be able to activate this most of the time until turn 4. So if you cast it on turn 3 and pop it on turn 4, then your opponent can actually respond to it. I don't know. I would rather probably cast it and activate it the same turn. But it's pretty strong. The strong effect is super strong, and it's something we didn't have access to before. This is something, you know, like when we played against a combo deck, we either had to race, we had to bring very narrow hate. But now we have the kind of this broad, like, you know, big brush kind of hate that can hit almost everything. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it's very good, and I think it's you will see a lot of play in Modern and everywhere. Pioneer also. I think this card will get kind of regular banned in Pioneer because this is just, you know, you minus for it on turn 3, you play it, you activate to get rid of the 4 cards, bring it back with Karn, activate it again. I mean, you know, you only need 6 mana to activate it, get it back, and cast it again and activate it again, right? So it's a very strong card, and I think yeah, it will definitely see play and it will help us with those matchups. Some matchups it will not be fast enough, but if you think about it, imagine your opponent is going Crushing Footholds, and you're on the play or you're on the draw, and they go turn 3 Rhinos, but you go turn 3 or turn 4 Stonebrain, get rid of all the rest of your Rhinos. Well, you only have to deal with 2 Rhinos. That's it, you know. Of course, they have also other cards, they have Furies and Brazen Powers or whatever, but you know, the deck, it's really not the same because they have 8, or like it says 7 dead draws, which is 4 Shadows Agent and the bio numbers. They have, basically their main payoff to play the deck is gone. And the same with Living End. Maybe they get to do 1 Living End, right? If they're going to rush for it and they're going to turn 3 Living End, yes, they're going to Living End you before you can Stonebrain. And, you know, if they have 4 Street Raids, you're going to lose. But if they don't, like, and sometimes they don't, especially post-board, because they bring in, you know, their Forces of Vigors and their Foundation Breakers, so the deck becomes a bit slower, and then you just Stonebrain them, you won, right? I mean, yeah, you can beat you subtly. I've lost 1 game to subtly beat down against Living End, but most of the time we just drew 1, right? So I think the card is really, really exciting, and it really gives us some, I think this is a nice incremental improvement to the deck. Phyrexian Domination, I'm really excited for these cards with Goblin Engineer decks, both Legacy Painter, and, you know, the Fiddle Vendor deck, or not Fiddle Vendor less deck. Any Goblin Engineer deck really wants this card because you can put it in the graveyard, you can bring it back with Goblin Engineer, and when you bring it back with Goblin Engineer, you can discard your hand and draw 3 cards, super strong. And you can also nurse it. So if they kill the Goblin Engineer, you can still nurse it by itself. Yes. Super amazing card, actually. And the card that will for sure see play, 100% see play in a lot of decks, but specifically Hardened Scales, is Hyrule Might. Hyrule Might is a 1-mana 1/1 insect that when it dies, you gain 2 life. Not bad. And then you can pay green and sacrifice it to exile target non-creature, what's it called? Non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. So you can exile Calder Complete. You can exile, Pithing Needles. You can exile Snaring Bridges. You can exile anything, you know what I mean? Like Urza Sagas, all that. And you can tutor it with Urza Saga. That's kind of hot, Some people will try this main deck. I think it's kind of too narrow to play main deck. But on sideboard, it looks super strong. As instead of you playing 4 Nature's Claims, you can now play 3 Nature's Claims on one of these guys, and it gives you so many more disenchant effects, right? You have 2 Bossagers you can steer rings for. You have the Nature's Claims you need to draw. But this one, you can draw any of your 4 Sagas or your Ancestor Rings that can also find it to you. And then, even though it's a bit less efficient, you can exile some things which can be kind of relevant. So I'm really excited. This card will see play for sure. You should get at least 1 copy. It's like you're only gonna buy 1 card in the whole set, and you're like, not gonna run this time brain, which I also think will see play. You should get this card. It's an uncommon. It should be relatively cheap, and it really is a really nice incremental improvement. Many games that sometimes now kind of like, for example, against Leaning Ant, I hate bringing in Nature's Claim because I know my opponent will bring Leyline of the Void. But if I bring in the Nature's Claim and they don't have the Leyline, I feel super bad, But it doesn't do anything. I mean, maybe I can destroy my own stuff, but it's really bad, right? But I can bring 1 Haywire Might. I have 4 Sagas, so I can always find it if I need to. And if I draw it, well, it's an artifact I'm just going to sacrifice to Rarity, right? But, so basically, with committing 1 sideboard slot and 1 card that I'm bringing in from my sideboard to my main deck, I'm actually gaining the possibility to draw either 4 Sagas, the Highway Might itself, or the 2 Bossagers to deal with like any random, artifact that you really don't want to bring in Nature's Claim against. Like Stony Silence. Like some people in our Reanimator deck will put like Stony Silence so that you cannot hurt them. Like things like that, you can just bring it and get rid of it. Like if somebody's bringing Pithing Needle against you, like a mid-range deck that brings Pithing Needle, bring this Highway Might. You don't have to bring the Nature's Claims. I think this card is going to see a lot of play as a Nature's Claim-ish. But it also sees a lot of play against these matches where you really don't want to bring in your, your Nature's Claims, but you still want to have some access to some extra disenchants. And much like Bossagers has done for us, that has given us this flexibility that we have like this hate in the main deck. Having 1 Hyrule Might in the sideboard gives you the flexibility to, adjust your deck a lot with a very little commitment, and I think that's kind of cool. And I think the rest of the cards are completely useless. I think this is useless. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to be saying it like it is. We need to be kind of real here. A lot of these cards are not for us. And then, some lands and some cool lands. I actually really like this one. And then some showcase frames. And if you want to go through them, the only one I think that we'll be purchasing, which is the only one we'll see playing Scales, which is kind of sad, honestly, because I really liked it. What is it? Where are you, bro? It's hard even to see. I mean, this card's maybe I'm not that convinced against them. Where are you? Ah, yeah, the Springleaf Drum. So you can get a fancy Springleaf Drum now. It looks kind of cool. I don't know. It looks kind of meh, honestly. I don't know. We'll see. But I picked up 1 copy just to see. But yeah, I'll show you now the deck list I'm planning to playing with the new cards and the deck list I would play if I was to actually win a tournament. Alright, so this is probably the list I will start testing. I try to put all the cards that are new in the deck and just see what sticks. So one card I forgot to actually talk about is Mistress' Research Desk. It's a for 1 mana artifact that you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to basically have look at the top 2 cards of your deck and decide which one you want to keep. And you can cast 1 in the next until your next turn. You can unearth it with 1 and a red. So you can bring it back. And then sacrifice it again to draw 1 more card. I think the main use of this thing is to actually sacrifice it to Ravager twice. I don't think this is worth it because we have a lot better we have a lot better options in the deck, and we don't really need card advantage that much. But it's just an option to keep in mind. I'll probably play one High Might in the main deck just to try how it feels, if it's strong. And I'll try two Simian Simulacrums. Who knows, maybe it will end up being like a one-off, you know? Like, you just play a one-off, you put some counters, and you have some late game. And on the sideboard, the main things that I think they're going to be changing is for sure you're going to have a one Haywire Might. And then you're going to be playing two Stonebrains. I will try that. I'm not sure if it's good. This is taking the slots for the Cascade decks and the Creativity decks. So I'm kind of focusing a lot more on just having the Stonebrain as my answer to those combo decks. And try to, with one answer, try to reach as many decks as possible. I don't know if that's going to be the way to go, or we just realize that this is too slow, basically. And then for the, if you want to have a competitive deck, so you're gonna go play a tournament this weekend, and bro is legal. I'll probably actually, the more I think about it, I'm more like 4/4. So I'll play like this. So I will play the same mana base I've been playing. I will play only one tap lane. I think one tap lane is nice, but I don't think you can. I mean, playing the second one is kind of a tough sometimes when you're playing 23 lanes. And I'll play something like this: 4 Shards, 4 Steerings, 3 Ozoliths. You could make a case for playing only 2 Ozoliths, and maybe that would be a correct choice. And then you could play either a Second Worker, or you could play a Throne of Geth. It'll be up to you. But 3 Ozoliths seems kind of important. And then I will play, the 16 2-drops. I think Patchwork is extremely important right now, so you should play it. And on the sideboard, I will do something very similar I just showed you. I will have the Stonebrain, and I have the Highwire Might. I'm not sure if this is the correct thing. It could be that we want to go down in some of these, some of this hate to play and not play the Stonebrain. The Stonebrain is too slow. Maybe we need Chalice of the Void for the Cascade decks. There's something that will need to be tested. But I would, if you have them, I would try them. And I think they can give you some value. And the fact that you can Steerings for them, so you can play turn 3, cast a 2, like my favorite sequence with this would be turn 1 you make a turn 1 drop, like a Scales or an Ozolith. Turn 2 you play a 2-drop. Turn 3 you play a 2-drop and an Ancient Steerings. You find your Stonebrain. Turn 4 you cast your Stonebrain. You exile your opponents, whatever. I think that would be the way. Again, that would be kind of a cool line, In even say against a Yawgmoth deck. And if they get to play a Yawgmoth, but you can kind of get rid of that Yawgmoth and then Stonebrain them, we are in a great position. So I would recommend doing that. Anyway, guys, that's the video. It's a bit longer than I thought it would be. I talked a lot, and I talked a lot about a lot of cards. But this is what I recommend playing right now. And this is what I will be trying in the future. Hopefully, as soon as the cards release. So yeah, take care and have a nice one. Bye.